We are starting lesson 3, and this is going to be dealing with linearity and continuity of graphs. So we'll see what linear equations look like versus nonlinear, and then uh, graphs that are continuous, discrete, or neither. So we'll see that in here. So we have a discrete function, a continuous function. So a discrete function means that we just have a bunch of points on a graph. We don't have any lines connecting at all. Continuous function means that every single point is connected with some type of line. It could be a curve, but there cannot be any breaks in it at all. A linear function is a graph that is a line itself, and nonlinear is a graph that is not a line, so they can't all be on the same line. So we have those different types of equations. But before we get started with all this, I want to go all the way back to resource 1. And what I want you to notice that on the videos that I have up on the presentation, not the videos, but the presentation itself, is that we have a bunch of examples that I'm not going to go through because they're already done for you. And you should go through these if you have any more questions about any of the material. I am going to be doing examples on every example that's in here, but it'll be a different example. So you can kind of go through it on your own. And of course, you can determine things and you can figure out what works, because the answers are actually located right here. So you'll be able to see those and get those done. So let's move on to right after the vocabulary, and we're going to go right into an example. So I want you to see this example. We'll kind of, like I said, we'll go through it. Let me try to get this out of the way a little bit. But we'll go through it and we'll be able to understand this example. So at the end of 2017, the average retail price of bananas was 56 cents per pound. The table shows the price in dollars. So here's what it was given the weight. So at 1 pound, it was 56 cents. At 1.5 pounds, it was 84 cents. At 2 pounds, it was $1.12, 3 pounds, and so on and so on. So we're looking at this. Does the price go up as the weight goes up? And what I mean by the weight going up, it doesn't have to be 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. It can be 1.66, 1.92, 2.51. It can be any decimal point that's in there. And yes, it can be. So therefore, bananas can be sold in fractions of a pound. So if the data in the table is graphed, the points should be connected, and the function, as long as the points are all connected, it should be continuous. So we go through and look at those. We check our answers. It can, it should, and it is continuous. So we have those particular ones that we look at. I'm going to reset the activities just so I remember to do that before class starts. So those get reset before we move on. Okay, determine by using graphs. So this is a lot easier when we look at a graph and we can figure out if something's continuous or not. Remember that continuous means that every single point has to be connected by some kind of line or curve. So this is continuous because there are no breaks. This one's continuous because there are no breaks. Even though it curves, it's still continuous. These points here are not connected at all, so this would be discrete. And then these have lines and are broken, so this is neither. So I would say that it would be B and D are the two, and that's what we get, are B and D. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so now we're going to apply discrete and continuous functions. So we're going to look at how those work when we're dealing with them in an application. So we're paying $30 an hour for any part of an hour. Okay, so for any part of an hour for weekly piano lessons. So use the graph to determine if it's continuous, discrete, or neither. So notice in this case, we can see that it starts here. If they get no piano time, it doesn't cost any money. At 20 hours, it's $600. At 30 hours, it's $900. So it goes up. So it's any part of an hour is what we're doing. So in this case, it must be continuous because of how that's working up there. So, okay, so that's what we have for that one. So far, it should be pretty straightforward. It really is. These graphs, of course, make it a lot easier if we're dealing with just graphs. Okay, so you've got your first check. Go off and do your homework in the first check, or do the work in the first check, and then come back and watch the second video.